right, thank you, Haki, so much for all that. The 7 steps to overcoming economic and psychological enslavement. I remember reading that book years ago that he was referencing, the Millionaire Next Door. And that really changed the whole dynamics in my own personal life, as well as to how millionaires think. You know, we have this perception that, you know, these wealthy people are flashy and they drive around in fancy cars and they eat fancy caviar every night, and nothing could be further than the truth. I mean, they were, you know, they live a more humble life, most of them, than those. What I found out was those who live that flashy life are usually the ones that are flat broke or in debt. So it's like the other way around. So it's fascinating. So get that book, The Millionaire Next Door. It's a fascinating book. Rich Dad, Poor Dad was another one for me. Okay, don't go anywhere, because me and Hanifah are going to be wrapping this thing up. Dr. Baruch had to run, and so we are taking his slot. And we just want to have a heart-to-heart. We want to have a heart-to-heart with you guys. Hanifah, you want to come up? This is, she and I both host a radio program right here at eLife Studios called the Empower Hour. We have flyers right in the back on the counter. Every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. You can find us right online. We go live via Facebook, and we also upstream on YouTube, so you can catch the past episodes. Most people are, you know, at work between the hours of 2 and 3 on Wednesday, but you can always catch our past episodes. And what we talk about is taboo topics that impact our everyday lives that most often we don't like to talk about. So I like to say that the things that the conversations that most people run from, Hanifah and I run towards, deliberately and intentionally, because I'm a firm believer that we can't expect change unless we hash out these challenges that are in our lives. We can't keep, you know, sweeping them under the rug, pretending they don't exist. We have to, you know, confront them head on, you know, with full force, and get to the root causes and the bottom of what is ailing us as a people. So that is currently what we're going to be doing right here. We're not going to take much of your time. I know it's been a long day, but we just want to have a little heart-to-heart and have, it's going to be a conversation. So let me let Hanifah say some things.
Good afternoon. All right. So when we were told that we are going to have a slot today, Alqamar and myself, we started to kind of try to think of some of the pressing things that we are observing and we are hearing just within the circles that we find ourselves in daily. And one of the things that what we actually came up with is the role of woman in the goal of unity. And so we wanted to discuss that. I think the first question I had was, what does the panel look like? Is it dominated by men? And she said, pretty much, but there is a sister. And I said, well, then we can talk about our role and the role of the feminine in all of this, because it's really significant. And we're finding that there's like I don't want to say a blatant, but like a war, almost projected war. It's projected onto us, and we've internalized it between man and woman, male, female, feminine, masculine principles going on, and not understanding how the balance of the two makes up the whole. And they don't have to be competitive, but they really are complementary. And so we're kind of coming from that angle. And like Alqamar said, we don't intend to hold you long. It's been a long day. And so but we will engage you, and you know, this is, like she said, this is a dialogue. So feel free to kind of chime in at any time. Yeah?
So we just wanted to ask questions. The first one was mixed families, co-parenting. Anybody in the audience grew up with stepmom, stepdad, or raised children that were not their own? Anybody? Raise your hand. That's most of the people in the room. Right. Huh?
Grew up in different father situations.
You do it different father situations?
Yeah.
So yeah, we just wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit because it's prevalent in our lives, and a lot, if not most of us, are currently dealing with that. You know, we're in mixed, blended households where you know, a lot of the families are split, and the children are coming into a new scenario with maybe a new mother or new father in the household, you know, quote unquote mother, father. And so we just wanted to talk about that a little bit. You want to give what's on your mind about that?
Sure. So we know definitely it has been somewhat unfortunately normalized in our community, the single parent household. Of course, we can talk about, if we put it in historical context, how there was always a push to break up the black family. We can go back to even when there were the welfare programs, and unfortunately, we're still dealing with a lot of residual stuff from those times, and we're still being attacked in that way, in a different capacity, of course, but it's still the same outcome. And so because we've noticed that a lot of our homes are dominated by single women, it's important that we understand as women our role, the significance of our role in ensuring that we're still able to raise healthy children, still being able to fill the role of the man in the home, whether that's through uncles or mentors, coaches in the community. And also the other thing was with the co-parent piece we saw with the mixed families. I'm not sure, there's a lot of fighting and bitterness that happens. We know, for example, the child support piece, right? I don't know if anyone in here don't know anyone that's on child support. Any man? No. We all know someone, or probably a couple of people. We also know a lot of brothers probably who are really trying hard to stay involved in their kids' lives, but they're receiving a fight from the other end for whatever reason, probably lingering hurts, unforgiveness, whatever that may be. And so we wanted to touch on that. I co-parent with my ex-husband, and we co-parent very well. The first year was really rocky, but I think what helps us is we never lost the mutual respect that we had for each other, and we also never lost sight of the fact that our son was the most important thing here. And so now he's a part of I guess that would be a blended family. He sort of have a stepmom. Not a stepdad, right? He has a stepmom. And so once she joined the team, and I like to say she joined the team because we're a team. Once she signed up for the team, then we had to lay down what the rules are, you know, and what order we follow on this team. And it was up to her whether she wanted to continue or not. So this is a sister that I call and I text outside of my ex-husband to check in on my son, to let her know if I need help, I'm running late or something, I'm able to text her. There is no mediator between the two of us. I have no beef with her. She came way after me, so there is no reason for it. This idea that women, this myth that we constantly have to be at odds with each other, it's time for us to dismantle it. It really is, because it's not true. Black women can get along. We can do sisterhood, and we can do it well. You know, so most of us who are doing this, and this is why I talk about this a lot, because there is not a lot of us who have figured out the co-parenting piece. It's not for me to show off. It's for me to say it can be done. And it's also important for those of us who are doing it effectively to hold our other sisters and brothers accountable. When we're saying, you're being petty right now, you know, let that go. Or, this is just going to hurt the child. I find that a lot of us sisters, especially when we know this brother have hurt our friend, we justify bad behavior. So 5 years later after the hurt, we still justifying bad behavior. Instead of trying to help our sister heal and help her to kind of deal with forgiveness so that she can move on, because the child is growing and the child is seeing and the child is hurting. And what can happen, I've always said this, when our kids are in the middle of a war, they will always choose a side. They will always choose a side. And the side that they're probably going to choose is probably the custodial parent. It's not because they love one more than the other. It's that I just want peace. So I'm just going to choose one of the sides. Okay? And so, but kids should never be in that position, right? And so not because the black family is not isolated to just father, mother. That's not how we function. It's always been village. But for some reason, we've lost that, and we've taken on the mind of the oppressor, that individualistic way of thinking. It's all about me and mine, right? And so when the family unit breaks down, we're finding single mothers really doing it on their own, or single fathers doing it on their own, or brothers not really getting the support that they need, or women not getting the support that they need. I know plenty of people who have had CPS call on them for leaving their kids, to leaving their kids home, because it was an issue of, we need shelter. And the only way we're going to get shelter is if I get money. And the only way that I'm going to get money is to get out there and make money. And the only way that I can go there and make money is someone watch my kids, and I don't have anyone to watch my kids. I don't exactly, but you know what I said to one of my friends when she had the CPS called on them? I said, it's one of your neighbors that calls CPS on you. But instead of them looking and say, she needs help, and stepping in and saying, hey, I could come and check in on the kids. I noticed that you're struggling. This is how messed up we are. And I know this is another black woman that did this, right? Because all her neighbors are black. It ain't the white lady across the street, right? So instead of her stepping in and say, I could help out, she calls CPS. CPS separates kids from their families. You're doing more.
Could you please tell us when you all air as well? When you all air?
Yes, we air every Wednesday at 2 p.m. You could find us. We actually go live on Facebook, eLife Media Group, and also the Empower Our page, either or. You can like our page, and you will always get an alert when it's time for us to go live. So it's every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Okay, and then also too, you can, if you missed the show, you can find us on YouTube on the Miss Free the People. But yeah, if you have another question, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback off of what Hanifah said.
Veggie back.
Veggie back. I love it. I want a vegan back on what Hanifah just shared. I'm taking that and running with it. I love it. What it does to the children. You know, I think we can get as adults in our feelings and, you know, bickering back and forth, and we forget what that does to the child and how impacted that child becomes when both parents that they love dearly, they could care less what you fighting over. They just know that their hearts are being ripped in two because they're watching two people that they love more than anything or anybody on earth go at each other. And I think that we don't realize and recognize the severity of what we do to our children psychologically when we do this, you know. And so yeah, I just wanted to make a point about how important it is, and even if there is, heaven forbid, have to be a separation involved, in the importance of both parents striving to maintain some civility and peace for the children's sake. You know, I'm not saying we gotta, you know, pretend to love each other and, you know, for the sake of the children and all that. I'm just saying they need to see civility for their own growth and development sake. You know, I did my own little survey recently. Just, you know, I don't have anything to back it up or anything. I just went down the list of the people in my life that I've grew closest to. And I put them in a category of who had a father growing up is happened to be a father. I know the whole, missing mother scenario is a big one too, but for the sake of arguing, I just did this father. And I said, well, out of all these people that I've grown close, my inner circle, and who grew up without a father, and who had a father in their home, or who they were close to growing up. And it was no coincidence that those that I found who had the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Challenges, whether it be economic, whether it be psychological, whether it be, abuse, or whether it be depression, all that kind of stuff. They all fell in the category with the exception of one person, and it was at least over 20 people. Not having a strong, powerful male and female presence in your life growing up makes a huge impact. Yeah. Huge impact. So just please, family, let's just keep that in mind moving forward. So, okay, we're going on to number 2. And anybody, if you guys want to jump in, definitely, because this is a back and forth discussion.
Yeah, I've always had something on. Sure.
Yes, sir.
I'm a student of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Asked us to have something to say. 2 pointers will help you in projection. I stopped to help my sister share too to help you say. I never say female. I always say you a black woman. I cut female out of my dialogue to help. I may slip and say it, but my intention is to always say the black woman and say the black man. You will be going to no place where you can't say I'm a mother doing 2 roles. No, he just that male child just happened, or that man child is absent, or that woman child is absent of male of the man or woman presence.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Okay, so we're going on to the next one, which is supporting our men.
Yes, I'm excited about that. Yes, because we can do this in so many different capacities. I feel like once we get past the bigger, what I found, and I've seen this from experience, just from within my own life and the lives of some people that are around me. Once we begin to heal self and we begin to love on self, a lot of the issues that we think we have with men, they dissipate for some reason. It's like you realize like the conflict was really with myself. The conflict, I'm real, and this is the truth. I can speak from my own experiences. I love and appreciate the black man. I adore the black man. I worship the black man because the black man is God and I am goddess, and this is what we do, right? And so, and so I want to see the black man at his best self always. And so when you come into the space of a black man, you approach a black man like a god. It doesn't matter what he looks like. It doesn't matter what his economic status is, because we've bought into this idea of what do you do? How much do you make? Where you live? What you drive? Who your crew? We bought into that, and what we're doing is, and because if you watch, when you go into a lot of European circles, the first thing they want to know is, what do you do? What do you do? Because that is how they measure each other's value, right? So when we come into the space of black men, black gods, we come in and we say, what do you do? Suppose that he's in transition. A lot of us women, we're ready to cut them off immediately because we've subscribed to the American way of thinking. And what you gonna do for me? What can you do for me? Right? So we have to get back as women get back to healing and nurturing. And I'm not saying to your own detriment, because I don't subscribe to you trying to heal someone while killing yourself. I don't subscribe to that. So it's important. So that's why wholeness within self and love within self is important. And if you can't do that, and that's not what you're bringing to the table in a God and goddess relationship, then you need to sit that one out. We have to have enough self-discipline to pass up a good thing. Because what happened is there's a scarcity, right? And as black women, we out here trying to grab onto any black god that looks good, right? And so it's like we see him and we're like, I'm not letting this one go because I don't have 6 bad ones. And I don't let this one. But you have not really recuperated. You haven't really healed from the 6 bad ones. And now you're about to jack up this 7th good one. Allow him to pass. Sit it out. Be friends. Until you can get to a place, because then it becomes cyclical. And we see a lot of cyclical damage in our communities. You know, go ahead, sis.
I just wanted to add what you were saying in reference to mission. We ask what you do. What your spirit is really saying, what is your destiny? Mm-hmm. What is your mission? Mm-hmm. Is it in alignment with what mine is?
Should be.
So when we're looking at Western culture and Western value system, we talk about the lens of perception, it's a fine line.
Yes.
We all know spirit is speaking to find a connection, but the language we speak is foreign. So I just wanted to kind of add that in terms of when we're looking at like, what is your mission? How is it in alignment with mine?
Yeah.
How is it in line with my ancestors? And how am I in alignment with what you're doing?
Yeah, and thank you for mentioning that, because I think even tuning into self, you'll be able to discern that as well. When you meet someone, you'll be able to say whether or not this person really needs to be able to linger, loiter, whatever we want to call it, in your space or not. But that's, again, tuning into self, right? And really, again, knowing that I think someone mentioned, Dr. Baruch mentioned to me a long time ago, a while back, really understanding the purpose of relationship. I think we need to start there. I don't think a lot of us really understand the purpose of getting into relationships. And that kind of took me back, like, do I understand this? You know? Because, of course, you kind of have to check yourself first. Sis, you have your finger up?
Yeah, I wanted to say that one of the things that has come to me in a conversation with a brother friend, a brother love of mine, is that sometimes we mistake attraction to our brothers or attraction to our sisters as romantic or sexual, and they are actually not to be in that space, and so we end up damaging each other and damaging the intimate relationships that we're supposed to have with people as non-blood related kin, non-blood related siblings, because we've only been taught that attraction is sexual, and that causes a lot of people, we don't have balance in our lives, because you may not have a mate, but you may also you might be missing out on the other kind of masculine or feminine energy that you need in your space, because you don't know how to have friendships with the opposite sex. That are not sexual in nature.
Excellent point. I'm so glad you brought that up. I agree wholeheartedly. She was basically sharing with those on the live stream that sometimes we meet somebody and the energies are flowing, and electric flying, and the first thing we want to do is both parties usually mine goes straight to sex. Yeah, and then we find ourselves there, and then we look around like, what have I done? And now, another one bites the dust. And here we go again over and over and over, as opposed to self-discipline, because that comes into play. Self-discipline and weighing it out. Who is this brother? What is his last name? Before I go there, So key, very key. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to give this back to you. I just want to mention, too, in the point where we're making about supporting our men, as women, I think when we realize that the man is the second half of ourselves, we are, they call the feminine, masculine energy. It's a complementary source. And I think when we start to really understand that, we are better able and capable of supporting our men the way they need to be supported, And so, and not just what you come in with. What does he got? The selfish part of ourselves. Yeah. What can I get out of this? What's he doing for me? Or how can I draw from? As opposed to let's meet this energy. Both ways, straight down the middle, so it can be a better balance moving forward.
No, I was just listening to, in supporting men as I was listening to the sisters speak, what came to my mind is this thing that we do in order for us to really support our men in the most African ways possible. We have to release our European standard of what romance and love is. We really do. And I have come to the realization that our even the definition of what love is to us is Eurocentric. It really is.
The word romance.
Yes, the word romance and Rome, right? And even so therefore the expectations that we have European expectations for African men, and that's ridiculous.
Right.
That's ridiculous. They cannot naturally, within their natural selves, meet those expectations, right? And so we have this thing where if you love me, you're going to bring me roses, whatever it is, and of course, whatever we've seen on television, people have pushed that. Of course, the connection with diamonds, we don't understand that that's a big business, but we fall into it. Diamonds is what? A girl whose best friend? Some girl named Becky. But and so the Khadijas of the world have taken that on, and diamonds are our best friends too. It's almost like we're constantly trying to make sure that we're in close proximity in everything that we do, in our thinking, in our conduct, in our behavior, in the way we treat our men, in the way that we expect our men to treat us. It's very Eurocentric, and I think once we begin to dismantle that, we can then approach our men not just as black men and gods, but as humans, and not approaching them, expecting them, because really the things that we're asking of them, and because it's Eurocentric by nature, it requires them to come out of their natural selves to even meet those expectations. So when she mentioned that, I'm like, we have to get rid of those standards, our own standards of beauty and love and all of those things. 1 minute, sir. And also too, the idea of how black women bodies, for example. Now we've taken that on and we've internalized that. I had a conversation with a sister not too long ago. We was talking about the little, where I'm from, we say pom-pom shots. And the little, what y'all call them? The little booty shots. Yes. And so they were talking about the little booty shots, and we were talking about how the little summertime coming, you see the little white girls, and these like their butt cheeks are out, right? And nobody bats an eye. But a sister walks down the street, right? And then we have now taken this on ourselves as women to where we start to judge each other's bodies. You should be wearing that because you have too many hip, you too much hip for that. Like we have now taken on those pretty much diabolical ways in treating each other and the way that we think about each other. And then yes, we mimic our oppressor, and then also too, men have taken that on as well. So we're in a season right now that flat booty girls just aren't winning. We just in that season. And I'm just saying, it shifts all the time, those things. It really does. But you look and you say, you're not even giving her intellect a chance. You're not even giving her spirituality a chance. You're obsessed with a body because someone has told you to. Because when you watch the shows and what they're pushing, and someone is telling you how to think. Someone is telling you how to behave around your woman. And that's the dismantling that has to take place. It has to start here first before it's even manifested on the outside. So, brother, you had your finger up.
Yes, as you presented earlier, that Kwame Nkrumah said that as long as you're at the enemies at the white man's table, you can't get your liberation or any form of emancipation. And to echo what Dr. Frederick Douglass said, so much has been done to us. The encouragement for us to get away from the white man's table and his idea of what they say is a relationship, some still say romance. There's a thing called the Devil's Punch Bowl that's happened in Natchez, Mississippi. I just hope you Google that. I think you'll find a lot of evidence on how to get away from this
Thank you, Barbara. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Moving right along, raising strong men. And I'm going to let you go there.
The struggle is real on that one. I have a 6-year-old son. I have a 6-year-old son, and one of the things that I had to do in co-parenting him is realize that I have a role to play. So I'm not here to compete with his dad. His dad has his part to play. I have my part to play. So once I accepted that, I figured it out, right? I know that every strong man and every successful man had a good mother, good woman of some sort raising them, had their hand in there. And so my job as a mother, my job as a black woman, as a goddess in my son's life, is to find out what my role is and to do it and do it successfully. That's my only role, my only concern. But now we're talking about single parent homes, and I'm around a lot of single parents. I tend to not place myself in that category for a number of reasons. And if I catch a woman who has a ton of help trying to place herself in that category, I check her too. You are not a single mom in that sense of the word, sweetie. You have help. Your child's father is picking him up from school every day, taking him over the summers, and buying him stuff. You are not a single mother. So we have to make sure we check those things as well. So I don't put myself in that category. I have a ton of help from the father of a wonderful man who is the father to my son. So I don't place myself in that category. But there are women who definitely fall in that category, and they have no support from the father of their child, unfortunately. And so these are the women who, other women like myself, we have to talk to them. It's not the support that they need in helping them to raise strong boys and strong women. It's not just financial support. I'm finding that a lot of our sisters are in recovery. So they've been hurt, and then on top of that, they've been hurt again, and hurt again. And then underneath all that hurt, before that hurt, there was some trauma. And we don't talk about psychological trauma in our community enough, and mental health. And wellness, period. Right. And when you talk to a lot of women who are single parents, they didn't set out to be single parents. You'll find that a lot of them probably come from single parents households, and they vow that this will not be them. And let me tell you, when you vow something, they say, this is not going to be me, and you try everything in your power, and it still turns out that way. That's a deep disappointment that takes a while to recover from. And so when we are supporting each other, and we're trying to help each other to raise strong men and strong women, it's not just about support financially. It's not just about child support. So the advice of, girl, you better put him on child support, it's not sufficient enough, because it's more than just money. It's community. It's sisterhood. It's the other men in the community that shows up to show her there are still good men out there. To show up and show her, we got you, and we got your little boy too. All of us play a part in raising strong men. All of us do. But I just want to particularly speak to the single women who are single parents in every sense of the word. Again, not y'all that got it getting help. This is not for you. But those of y'all who are not getting any help, I would say, if you are having a hard time with forgiveness, and you're having a hard time letting go of hurt that has happened to you, and it is now affecting the way you're parenting your son, if you don't get the help that you need, if you don't go out there and talk to someone or open up and try to get the healing you need, what is going to happen is you're going to raise a boy that's going to become just like the man that hurt you. Because you're hurting him, because you're not taking the time to deal with yourself. It doesn't make you a bad mother, because women are out here doing the best that they can. I'm not judging, but I'm saying, you want to be a great mom? Get the help that you need. It's not just about finances. If that means you go to therapy, that is not a bad thing, black people. Some of us need some serious long-term therapy. Get African-centered therapy, get some black therapists, get on somebody's couch and talk it out.
That's right.
And let it go.
So can I say something really quick? So I've been in a describe. I would say that one of the things, I'm a mother of two sons. One will be 21 next month, and one will be 15 in October. And one thing I had to realize and accept is we do a lot of things where, because the father doesn't do things exactly the way we would do them, we will try to use that as an excuse to create barriers for, access to the children. Right. And I've had to tell sisters, in one of the cases, myself and my son's father are diametrically opposed. However, it came a point when he was 15 that I had to, even though I disagreed with the whole way he lives his life, I sent my son to him so that my son could see for himself exactly what that type of manhood looked like. And it was very difficult to be 2 states away and watch the foolishness. But on the other side, and it does take time, on the other side of that, I am now seeing that he got it. And so sometimes we have to trust and not try to hold the children hostage. Control. Sometimes it's out of a real desire for safety.
Exactly. I was going to say, I think as women, what we attempt to do is protect our children. Right. And I think that, right. And I think it's, in a lot of instances, it's from a heartfelt place, but I don't know if we recognize that it can cause damage as well, because if you're protecting them from the source that they need the most to be able to be productive, and then that can be harmful. So some women, the women will attempt to keep the child away from the father because, like you said, they had
Fruit Loops at his house.
Right. I don't want my child eating Fruit Loops at your house, so I'm just not going to send them there. Right. But you don't understand. But that's still damaging to the relationship of a child and its father.
Yeah, I was going to say you're right. A lot of it is in love and protection, the need to protect. A lot of it is also rooted in ego.
Oh, yeah.
Women, we have egos too.
Yeah.
A lot of it is rooted in control.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is also rooted in, as women, we have this idea that because of our gender, we are automatically the better parent.
Nope.
I'm going to say that again. As women, we have this false idea that because of our gender, we are automatically the better parent. That is not true. Every child needs balance. That man is not going to console that child the same exact way you do. I kiss my son on his forehead all this time. His daddy ain't doing that. He might get a tap on the back. Love you, son, and keep it moving. I'm all hugging him and squeezing him. Oh, I love you so much. His dad ain't doing that. Does that disqualify him as a good father? No. It just means that he does it differently. None of us love the same. All of us are coming from different backgrounds, different homes, different home cultures. Because we talk about culture in general, but then we have the culture of homes. Okay, because you can grow up in a culture and have a different culture in your home. We see a lot of immigrants doing it, don't we? Right? So that's the other thing. It's you're right. Love and the need to protect, but we also ego trip as women as well, and we also want to control and tell everybody what to do, and we also think that we are the better parent simply because we are women.
Again, Hanifah and I, we hash out all different type of topics of discussion every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. on the eLife Studios. You can find us on eLife Studios under eLife Media, under the Facebook page, as well as YouTube under Miss Free the People. I just wanted to mention, we deal a lot in root causes when we have our discussions. And, as I'm hearing you talk, the thought that comes to my mind is, how do we even get here? How do we solve the issue of even having so many individuals raising children, single mothers or fathers and stuff? And then I go right back to what the sister first brought up about the energy, the sexual energy, and how fast we are to move on that. And sometimes, we move so fast, that boom, here's a baby on the scene, and we barely know each other, as the parents. And so how that relates to, the split of the family unit. So again, going back to your excellent point that you made earlier, I think that if we really can discipline ourselves more on being patient, even with the relationship, to getting to know each other better before we speed into it, we can alleviate a lot of the challenges that we find ourselves in that grow into a huge dilemma. Moving on to sisterhood, my favorite one on the list. And I think Hanifah and I expressed this exceptionally well. We've been working together now for over a year. We do the program every week. We don't always agree. Sometimes you can see us in there, and we get loud and all that. But at the end of the day, I know this is my sister, and I love her. And whatever we dealing with, we gonna get to the other side of it, and we gonna all come out of it in a respectable manner. I'm gonna still respect her as my sister and as a woman who I admire, respect, and appreciate. So, you want to add to sisterhood?
I love the topic of sisterhood because I love to get at that whole idea that we gotta be an odds. I hate it. Yeah. So any chance I get to talk against it, I'm super psyched about it. So yes, sisterhood. That's a big one for me. And like Alqamar says, we work pretty well together. We don't always agree, but nonetheless, there's a mutual love and a mutual respect that's there. I also have friends around me, and it's the same thing. We need to learn to disagree, specifically in the Black community, to disagree and still be cool and still love and still live with each other, right? We need to be able to do that. But among women, I actually think, and I might be reaching here, I think the resolve or the beginning part of unity starts with us. I think if women can unify, like really unify, not really like talk about it, but really do it. And these men can see that. And I'm talking, when I say unify, when I say this, I'm not talking about you get along with his cousins and his sisters and, because y'all like each other. I'm talking about you get along with his exes. You get along with the mother of his child. You just make it work. Sisterhood is all of that, and I really think that could be the beginning of unity. We call for unity, and there are some of us who have gotten to a place, I see you, Baba, have gotten to a place where we've just kind of like written unity off. We're like, it's never gonna happen. Not gonna happen, too many egos, people just want to be, too many chiefs, but we don't talk about the unity amongst us as Black women. We don't talk about the divisions among us as Black women, the lack of support, the competition. For what? For what? When you have the need to compete with another woman or another man, that is from a place of lack and fear. Right. There is enough to go around for everyone. Right. There is enough to go around for everyone. We don't have to compete with each other. Again, sisterhood as well is not just coming together and, celebrating each other and each other's mess. It's about holding each other accountable. Sis, you're hurting. Let me hold your hand and help you in this healing process. Another thing that I realize with us as Black women that actually adds to our issue with really unifying is transparency and vulnerability. Vulnerability is like a cuss word for us. Black women struggle with vulnerability. It's like a real thing. Like, you talk about vulnerability, people start going through some real withdrawal symptoms. Like, nah, I gotta go. I just realized I gotta pick my child up. Or I need a drink or something. Because now it's like vulnerability. Absolutely not. Why? Because we don't trust each other. So we're not really trying to be vulnerable with each other. Because why would I tell Alqamar this if I don't trust her? And then there's a possibility that I'm going to come to everlasting life and my business is going to be all over. We need to deal with those issues first. We have an issue of trust. So when we talk about sisterhood, I am a person that I feel like we need to just work at it and work at it. And when we fail, get up, work at it again. And work at it again. It's not going to be an easy ride, but it's not because it's difficult means that it's impossible. Baba, you wanted to say something?
Yes, ma'am. As a father, I have 7 children there, 5 men, black men, and 2 potential black women. And as a grandfather, I have 17 grandchildren. That's 10 black potential manhood, and there are 7 women there, black women. And now you can borrow from Africa and say the village, but my experience teaches me of self-government. It takes a nation. You want to raise in this environment a black woman or a black man. It takes a nation, I assure you, a nation to raise. If we want to come upright and be flexible, well-rounded, it takes a nation. Borrow from Frederick Douglass. He said of all the things, he told you many things. The best thing Frederick Douglass said I can tell you, black woman, is that you would organize yourself against your exclusion from having in your participation and having your own black government. Self-government.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we drive by that. And
thank you for that, Baba. And I think as women, we hurt ourselves with the language that we use as well. I'm a firm believer that words carry energy. So when I hear things like another woman say, "I don't do women," have you ever heard that? I know I can't be the only one. You've never heard that one before? Oh, I've heard it. I don't do women. Yeah, and I'm offended by that. I remember we were in a room. It was a girls' thing we were doing one time, and it was about 8 of us in the room, and we got to chatting, and one of the girls said, "Well, I don't do women." I'm like, "Well, you in a room full of women?" I said, "You're a woman. What are you saying about yourself when you say that?" So I think we should. I think she meant that she may feel that she has challenges when she's around women, a lot of women versus men. Some women seem to feel like they find a comfort zone around men. But I think that with proper work on self, you'll find a comfort zone around men and women. So it's necessary. So I think, that just the words that we use, I think if we can just be more cognizant of what we say out our mouths, that can go a long way, and then the cattiness and the gossip. Yeah. That's another thing that, if we can just, be mindful of, that that'll go a long way in building and strengthening our sisterhood. Moving right along. Sex as a tool and not a weapon.
So she passed me the mic because that was one of mine. Oh, wow. I just watched, what is it? Shy? It's like the movie by Spike Lee. What is it? Chi-Town? The movie that happened. Chirac. Thank you. Okay, yeah. You know me. Chirac, and that was one of the things that they used. The withholding of sex, as well. But they learned that through history. So when I'm talking about weaponizing sex. I'm talking about weaponizing sex. I think that we are very shallow in our understanding around sex. I think we have gotten as far as procreation, and that's it. And of course, there's the pleasure part. We got that down pack. Because every day it's something new. Girl, if he not doing this, then no. Or if she not doing that, then no. So that we got the pleasure part. But we don't really talk about the manifesting part together. We don't talk about possibly fasting from sex together. To come to us. So we don't talk about these things. We don't talk about ejaculation. We talk about ejaculation a lot. So we don't really get into the depths of sex, where the spiritual aspect of sex, the exchange of energy, and really understanding what intercourse means. Intercourse is this like a communication. You're giving something, I'm giving something. That's what. And you look up the definition of intercourse. Pretty much, that's what it's talking about. So there is an exchange of energy that happens during sex. I was in the church at one really pitiful point in my life, I was in the church. That was my 20s, yes. And one of the things that they pushed was abstinence. But I always felt like they really should go more in depth as to why just sleeping with numerous people and so forth is not a good idea. But the church never gets into energy, you know, and what that looks like. To where if you're not managing your energy well, and you don't even understand that, you don't understand that someone can come in and shift your energy through sexual intercourse. We don't understand. Men and women, we could take that on. So now you are a happy person at one time, and now you're having intercourse with this miserable, miserable woman, guys. I mean, she's just miserable. And all of a sudden, your energy is just low all the time, and you can't figure it out. And you're depressed, you don't want to get out of bed, you're not motivated, your business is just about to flop because you just ain't doing nothing. And you're not even sitting to think, possibly, this started about 3 months ago when I started, you know, we don't even look at those things. And then also with women, when we talk about weaponizing sex, the only way that a woman can even possibly think about weaponizing sex is that if she don't understand that the power that she possesses is way more than what she has between her legs. And I don't think we teach our young sisters enough about that. We talk to them about pleasuring men, and we make them think that that is where the strength is. And here's what happens. When they go out there and they overperform sexually, and then they're still left in his smoke, what do you think that is doing to our young women at such an early age? We're talking about teenage years. You know, our young girls are having sex 16, 17. So if you're teaching them that's where their power lie, and they put all their focus into that, but they're still getting left every time, what is that doing? What is that doing? You know, we see some of them joining the other team. Sometimes they just cross the street. Like, they don't even say bye. It was nice. No, they just, you wake up one day and they're playing for the other team, right? And we're like, oh my, what happened? But this didn't just happen overnight. It's a building, right? Also understanding that our essence, our power, for example, tomorrow, if you were, so God forbid, woman, were to wake up without your vagina tomorrow, you will still possess the power of a woman. It will still be there, you know. And I don't think we think, like, for example, people who have to cut off their breasts, you know. Yeah, I'm just saying. I met a little girl in the thrift store once, and she, little Spanish girl, and you know, they have their little long flowing hair, and she was looking at me. I get this a lot from kids, by the way, because I'm bald, and so they just stare at me, and they're trying to figure out, what are you? So the little girl is standing there, she's staring, and she said, "Are you a woman?" I don't know, skirt too, but in this day and age, you never know. So I said, "Yes, I am a woman," and she was like, "Well, you should have long hair, like me." And then she proceeded to whip her hair. A little show off, you know? So I was like, well, that doesn't make me any less of a woman because my hair is bald. I'm bald by choice. You know, and I feel very much like a woman, you know? And and her mom was like, you know how you try to correct kids? Because we always think kids are being rude. Because, you know, kids' curiosity is considered rude for whatever reason. And I was telling the mom, no, this is a good conversation. This is a good conversation, because I needed her to understand that her womanhood, those are factors of it, hair and body part, like, you know, her outward body parts. And, you know, it's not the essence of who she was. And it was me really trying to have this little conversation with this little stranger, this little person that was curious about the fact that, how can you be a woman and your hair is bald, you know? And it's the same thing, you know, talking to a young woman, and forget young women, we got women in their 30s and 40s that still think that their power is in between their thighs. In their 30s and 40s, you still haven't learned and getting left, and now you're about to be 50 and lonely, and it's you are mad at yourself because somebody told you that that's where your power is at, and yet it wasn't able to hold on to any particular man, the good ones and the bad ones. So it's really for us to really transcend that way of thinking, and really understand where our power lies, and it's within ourselves. It's not down below. Actually, that's your root chakra, right? So it's like you're talking about functioning from that place alone. You know, some of us don't even get up to our heart chakra. We don't really even know how to love. We know how to have sex. And because we know how to have sex and we don't know how to love, we immediately think that we can use withholding sex as a punishment. And when that brother is self-disciplined enough to leave you behind and be like, you can have that, then you're somewhere hurt. You know, so when I talk about weaponizing sex, I say that because I see a lot of us where we think that that's where our power lies. And because we believe that lie. And not just it's been told to us, it's been acted out. We've watched aunties and mothers and fathers, you know, hold this thing in such high esteem, sex. Excuse me. And so we're like, okay, that's what I need to do. That's what I need to do as a woman. That's what I need to do to get a good man. That's what you know what I mean? And so it's so much deeper than that. But it's us finding a way to talk to young sisters about sex. And, you know, they know about sex, and some of us don't even know about yoni hygiene. You know, at a young age, you're 20 and you still don't know how to clean yourself. But you know about pleasuring someone, though. Right. You know about fellatio, you know about all of those things. But you don't even know, like, the sacredness that is your yoni and the power beyond just sexual pleasure that it possesses. You know, we knowing that not necessarily weapon. You never hear a woman talk about healing through sex. Right. We never talk about that. Never. It's like not even a tool that we consider. But we hear about, he not getting none tonight until he act right. You know, we hear about that all the time, but we don't talk about, you know, he's having a hard time, you know, well, this isn't the time for me to try to pleasure him. What I need to do is be there for him spiritually and learn how to, you know, pray with, pray for, meditate with, meditate for our gods and our goddesses, you know, that's pretty much, Yeah,
I always learn so much from you, Hanifah. I just want to add to that, and a lot of us don't even know that we don't know. A lot of us, the women, you know, I think it becomes a culture of, you know, when you're around, all your friends and family and loved ones interact with the opposite sex the same way you do. You take on that culture of how it's done, and so we don't really get the proper healing. And we don't even know we need proper healing because we feel like what we've been doing is it's just the way it should be done.
But thinking about looking at our history as black women in this country and black men in this country, look at how we approach sex. Sex is still somewhat of a taboo in our community. Like, we don't really even want to talk about the topic. You know, like really delve into the conversation. And I understand why. I get why when you understand history and the oppression of our people and our women constantly being violated. And, you know, I totally understand why. But I think it's way past due for us to really start having these conversations. Right. Your 16-year-old should know how, like how she could get pregnant. Yeah. Like, she should know these things. She should know how to take care of her hygiene when she's on a cycle. You know, she should know that you know, you have a vagina and then the different parts of the vagina and the clitoris and, you know, all of these different parts, and know the proper name for them. You're talking 16, 17-year-olds having sex and they know nothing about themselves. Yeah. Nothing. Yeah. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and I think it's either or. It's like either, like you said, it's taboo, or it's the total opposite extreme of the spectrum. It's over sexualized. Then you have some people that's all they talk about. That's all they, you know, rated X everything, and so it's
one more thing. Sorry, one more thing around sex too. I'm finding too a lot of women and of this past 2 years, men. I'm discovering men. The sexual molestation in our communities. That's contributing to this as well too. And we talk a lot about the woman being violated and how that then impacts the way they approach men, because it can go either way. You know, some women who have been molested kind of withdraw, and some women who have been molested are out there, extremely promiscuous. But we do not consider the men who are extremely promiscuous to have been violated. And that's a real thing too. There are a lot of brothers who a male or man in their life have done something to them. It could have been something as simple as grabbing their crotch or actually penetrating them, to where they're out here now trying to prove their manhood.
Yeah.
So they're sleeping with any woman they can get their hand on, because what they're trying to do, that little voice in their head like, a man did this to you. They're trying to prove to them, but I'm still a man. That voice, it's not even their own voice, right? So that's another piece too. The sex piece, the reason why that we're having a difficult time with it too is because we have a difficult time even talking about pedophilia.
Yeah.
And just molestation in our community, period. Yeah. And this is not just women, men. There are men who have been violated too, by women too, by babysitters. There are young men in our community who have been touched by women. And because of that, when they are out here, they have no respect for women, none whatsoever. I know of someone who, by the time they were violated from a very young age, maybe 6 or 7, all the way up until teenage years. And by the time they got to where they were dealing with women, the young girls who was his age could not pleasure him because of the things that grown woman had already exposed him to. His brain was not even ready for that. Think about being 6 and 7 years old and a woman performing certain sexual acts that even adults are not doing to a 6-7-year-old. What does that look like? So yeah, that's another thing that we need to talk more about. We need to have little groups. You know, one of the things that I'm hoping to see is groups where there is no machoism involved. You're literally there for each other to heal and to talk about these things. I don't think our men have enough resources and services and groups to where they could just go and let it out. Because everybody's out there trying to be on the surface and be a man. I think as women, we have a lot more resources and places to go to be able to cry, because that's just what we do, Men don't really do that. And then again, it goes back to supporting men as well. As women, if you are good at what you're doing and you're in tune as a woman with yourself, and then you're in tune with the person that you're with, you will know when something is a little off. You might not know exactly what it is. And so you may have, I would actually recommend you have the patience to wait it out. It will come. It will surface. But once it surfaces, this is what we need to stop doing, because I've heard a lot of men say, man, I opened up to her. We got in an argument. Man, she threw that thing right back up in my face. So most men, we do it. Let me tell you something. Women, when it comes to the tongue, we are vicious when we're mad. We are really no one can do it like us. We will tell you, your mama, and your sister off in 1 minute. 1 minute. Tell you everything we know about your family. Everything. And that information came from you. So what happens now when we do that? This man begins to trust us less and less and less, and you ain't knowing nothing. When he was out there with his friend, he with his friend, and his friend was having a hard time, and his friend wanted to commit suicide. So he came home a little late, and you're like, where you were at? Man, I was at the bowling alley. Because he ain't telling you he was with his almost suicidal friend. Because then when they get mad, you be like, and that's why your friends are trying to kill themselves, because they don't like you. And you're looking like, what? You're really using it? It's a real thing. We're laughing about it, but it's a real thing. And I know there are brothers in here that can, attest to that. It's a real thing. And so sisters, we got to be aware of that as well. Watch our tongue. There's the power of life and death in our tongue. We can either build our men using our tongue, or we can break them down.
Yeah. Real good teaching. Yeah. And then withdrawal. Then they go into a withdrawal period on us. And then we're like, well, I want to be close to you or that, but psychologically he can't really get close to you because, when he does, he gets burnt. So be careful. Be careful what we wish for. And that goes right into the next topic, which is helping our men heal using community. Like you were mentioning, they don't have a lot of places where they can go and get that healing that they really need. And how the community, and where does the community fit in that healing process?
The elders.
You want to add on the elders?
Yeah, the elders. We need more elders to even create safe spaces for our brothers, to where they can come and they can have these really transparent coconut. Okay, I'll come and give it to you in a minute. Yeah, the job of a mother. Elders really need to create safe spaces to where younger men can come and they can have these conversations, not where they're judged, not where they're judged. We tend to have, I don't even like this word, but it's, some men are struggling with their sexuality, not necessarily, well, that is connected to being molested, okay? That's a big one. Where are the safe spaces for these people? Because they're fighting this thing daily. And they can't come into a space and have this conversation with someone who's extremely, and I'm going to use the word, not that I really like it, extremely homophobic, to where that person then begins to open up, and then it's like they're treated differently. Because it's like, oh, you having these struggles, you must be gay. Did you miss the part when they were molested? Can we touch that? Can we deal with the root of that? So we have to create these safe spaces for our men. They don't have them. They really don't have them. Also, the support even around like co-parenting. For example, they had a video circulating on the internet, and it was a sister and a brother, and they came to the point where they had to. It was a meeting point. The kid was supposed to go from mom to the dad, and so dad is saying, "Okay, let me take her and put her in the car." Mom is petty as ever. I mean, she's petty. I wish I knew her address. I would write her a long letter. Pettiness was on 100. Yeah. So she's holding the little girl and the ego. She's holding the little girl and she's saying, I'm going to put her in the car. And father is saying, no, I got it. I drove 2 hours to come and get my child. Let me have her. Put her in the car and go. She's like, well, I'm going to put her in the car seat. I can put her in the car seat though. Mom would not let the little girl go. Okay? So then she said, there's no car seat. And then he opens the door. He says, there's the car seat. She still wouldn't give him the child. So then I'm reading the comments and I see women coming to her defense. And this is what I'm noticing. A lot of our brothers don't have no backing from sisters when it comes to these type of things. We automatically say they're in the wrong. Yeah. What did he do? He must have did something before the camera started rolling. Yeah. No, there are bitter women out here that needs healing too. It's not just our men. Right. It's not. Some of us are hurt. We are hurt and we refuse to say that we're hurt. Yeah. Because we have this thing, again, as black women, vulnerability is not, it's not our strength. We ain't doing it. We're just not doing it. Transparency is another one, lack of transparency. We say we are right when we're not. We're so used to that. The whole idea, this is why I hate the whole idea of the strong black woman. I wish we would do away with that. Strong, independent black woman, because I personally think it's a mask. And I think that what happens when we constantly push that women who are actually hurting and need healing, it's hard for them to really come forward and get that. Because you're hiding behind the idea of, or the expectation to be this strong, independent black woman. And I'm like, no sis, you can have a moment of weakness. No sis, you can cry. No, you can break down. I'd rather you break down, hey, in this circle, than break down on your job and completely lose it. And then they're looking at you like, so fragile, so feeble-minded. You know what I mean? So that's my thing. It's like, it's both sides. Both sides need healing. Both sides. And I worry for our men because I feel like the suicidal rate among black men is increasing because of this. Because they have nowhere to empty themselves.
Yeah. And it comes out in a lash out process. We find, the angry black man, the angry black women. Now we label that on top of all the other things that society labels us as. But I think the root causes stem from us not having those outlets, or us women not allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, or not, you know what I'm saying, hashing it out and getting the relief that we need. And so the slightest little thing will set us off. And that's on both sides of the spectrum, men and women. And I think that just goes into how much healing that we really need.
And women who had expectations of a daddy who wasn't there, and you're thinking that her anger has nothing to do with you, brother. Nothing. His anger sometimes has nothing to do with you, sister. Absolutely nothing. You know, you are just there. You're just in close proximity. Yeah, you're in close proximity, you know, and you find, like I said, once we begin to love ourselves and heal self, we realize that a lot of the issues we have with the opposite sex really actually starts to decrease.
Yes.
It really does start to decrease if we start to love, because the issue with a lot of us is that we're lacking in self-love and we're looking for someone to compensate for it. And that is a heavy weight that no one should have to carry. No one should have to carry the responsibility of making you happy. Yeah. No one should have to carry the weight of the responsibility of, oh, I'm going to love you because you refuse to love yourself. No one should have to deal with that. And that's both men and women. You know, men have to love themselves too. So you're not coming in there and saying, well, she ain't doing this for me and she not doing that for me. You should have probably been doing some of those things for yourself first before you even stepped in that person's space. Yeah.
And what we find is the off balance, because what happens is when the individual does do the work on themselves, they're in search of somebody who's done the same for themselves. So if you're not fitting in that category, you're not even a factor in what they're looking for. So you'll end up with another individual who needs just as much work or more as you do. And so the cycle continues. So it's so important to get the necessary work done that you need for yourself so you can attract that same type of energy around you.
And the math of the common denominator, coconut. Give me 1 minute, okay? I'm coming together. The math of the common denominator, where you have your sisters and they're talking about these 6, I like the number 6, y'all, forgive me. But they have these 6 men that they have had issues with, right? And you've been there for those 6 rounds. And you still haven't asked your sister to check herself. You are the common denominator. How are you constantly attracting these type of men? It is not a blame thing to say it's your fault. Exactly. Sometimes you have to step back and say, whoa. What am I giving off for me to even attract these type of people into my space? You know? Yeah.
And lastly, we're moving. Yes, sir, Baba.
Yeah,
we're going to move on to the last one.
I think love and sex has been sold to us in a cliche package.
Yeah.
And we don't take it very seriously.
Right.
And that's one of the issues. I think we buy into that and we sell it to each other, and that's why when you say you love someone, black man or black woman, it's taken in the spirit of the same cliche it was given in, the same cliche it was received in.
Yes.
And we don't identify with true black love and understand true black love.
Yeah. So a lot of us don't even, we get our cues from that one-eyed monster. That's what I call it, TV.
Very last thing.
You know?
I do a radio show. I'm a host of Black Power Radio Mondays at 8. That's
All
the
right.
man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Again, that television. You know, a lot of times, you know, if you're being fed, what goes in must come out. That's the laws of nature. We can't get around that. What goes up must come down, in, out, round and around. You can't get around. So you cannot consume all day, every day, what is on that television that's mainly drama, chaos. A lot of us feed into.
Just entertainment.
Right. No substance. And feel and think that you're just gonna, be okay, and then you're just gonna walk away from that TV, and it's all going into your psyche, your subconscious, whether you know it or not. You will react to what you have sat and consumed, just like anything you eat. You eat enough of it, it will become a part of you. And so, and a lot of us get our cues for love and sex from TV, which is distorted. So, you know, I'm an advocate. I know me and Hanifah disagree on this area too. I just turn the thing off. I don't watch at all. You know, period. This could be months to go past that before I turn my TV on, because I understand what it does to my mind, and I like to protect myself, and so I make a conscientious decision to read a book, or you know, if I am getting the news, and I'm selective about where I go for that, because I know that can be distorted as well. But I don't want to get too far off of the topic at hand. Did you want to add anything? Lastly, understanding the significance of our roles in the fight.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go.
As women. I think the angle I was coming from on that part was our men should not have to be fighting and then having to come home and fight some more. And again, the reason why I'm speaking to the sisters is because I am a sister. And I really believe in men holding men accountable and women holding women accountable. Yeah. I think sometimes men have been so hurt and wounded by women that to have a sister talk to them, they're not really hearing us. And also women who have been really extremely wounded by men and hurt, a man coming at them, sometimes even in the wrong tone, they shut down and they're not really hearing you. So when I speak to women, I speak as someone who has experience. All of us have some sort of experience. And I also speak because I feel like it's important for sisters to hear another sister talking to them versus a man talking at them. I think that's important as well. But yes, understanding the significance of our role in the fight for black people, the fight for liberation, right? Understanding what our roles are in that. We cannot be trying to fight our men and still fight a war with our men. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be behind the battlefield, and you and this is just this is allegoric, guys. Don't take this, this is not like serious, but you and him is hiding. You guys are hiding behind a bush. And you're hiding from the enemy. And you know how the enemy find you guys? Because y'all are back there bickering. No, you shut up. No, you shut up. No, you shut up. And the enemy's like, I found you. Guess what drew me to you? You both died. Exactly, because you're behind a bush bickering. Because you couldn't sort this out behind closed doors. So now you guys are fighting in the fight. That makes no sense. So yes, understanding what roles we play in support. Our men are out there, especially men who are out there working, trying to provide for their families. They're taking a beating all the time. From the time we wake up, right, white supremacy is right there waiting for us. Hey, as soon as we wake up. So our men go out the door. They're out there. They're trying to provide. There's a force out there that's set against them, fighting their every move. And this is my thing. As women, as black women, we need to understand that we're at war. We really do. And because if we don't get that, it's not going to be reflected in the way we relate to our men. It's not going to be reflected in the home. We're going to disregard the fact that we're in war, and we're actually going to think that we're at war with the person who we're sleeping with, who we're sharing kids with. Right? And so we're beating them, and then they're going out there and they're getting beaten. No, they're beating us, and we're going out there and getting beat up as well. So now you have two tired folks coming back home to each other, don't really want to see each other, don't have the energy to love each other, don't even want to support each other, and then boom, we're divorced. I've been there. As a divorcee, I've been there. And I can say at 26 years old, I wasn't ready to be anybody's wife. But I somehow found myself down the aisle, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because now there's a child involved and all of these other things. And I think if we can't support our men, and we really don't know how to do this thing called marriage, we need to sit it out. We need to sit it out because lives are dependent on us to get this thing right. Yes. It's not just about us. Lives are dependent on us. The nation, the community is dependent on us to get this thing right. And so this is not a play thing.
Right.
Marriage in the time of war is not a play thing. It's not. You know what I mean? And you're talking about people's spirits dying. You know what I mean? And so we have to be cognizant of that. Sit down, please. Sit down, please. We have to be cognizant of that. And so when it comes to knowing our role in the fight, we have to understand history, the role that women have always played in history. This idea of women as second-class citizens is not ours. That is not us. That is not African. We have African culture has never placed their woman as second-class citizens. We was always held in high esteem. And if you are with brothers who are, that's because they've taken on the mind of their oppressors. And that's because they also don't know self. Okay? If you are with a woman who her main focus is to dominate the relationship, she does not know self. That's not what we do. Okay? And holding a woman in high esteem doesn't mean that somehow she runs the show. It's a balance. And balance is a dance. So when you step forward, I step back. When I step forward, you step back. You provide the space. You complement each other. You know each other's strength. It doesn't make you weak to say, I can't do this. But you got this, boo. So you do this. It doesn't make you weak as a man. It doesn't make you less of a woman to say, you know what? I need you to do this. I really genuinely cannot do this. Not because you know how to fix the car mean that you have to fix it. Okay? Let that brother do something. Let him do something. It's not even pretending. It's just it's really just taking care of each other. It's love. It's love. You know, I have a son and you know what I do with him? I provide him 3 options. And this is bad. The 3 options that I gave him are 3 options that I'm okay with. So anyone he chooses is okay with me. But it gives him the idea that, okay, I have choice. Now, there will come times where he do have choice. You don't like those red sneakers? You like the green ones? Feel free. You got to wear them. They're ugly as ever, but you're going to have to wear them at 6 years old, you know? So even in relationships, this control thing, we got to relinquish it as women because it ends up doing more damage than good. We also teach kids how to relate to each other. So you're in a relationship in the home. This is the role as the woman as well. Your relationship in the home, and what has happened? I was raised by a single mom, and I can attest to this. What has happened? I've seen with a lot of single mothers is that they've hardened. They've hardened because they've taken on this idea of I have to become mother and father to this child, and it's impossible. So they've taken on a lot more of the masculine energy. So there's an imbalance now. You know what I mean? And so now a man is trying to date this woman. And she's been single parenting for years, sorry. And she's already hardened because she's been doing this thing on her own for a long time. And here this brother come and she can't find a softness nowhere in her being. And that brother is looking like, ew, you harder than me. What we gonna do with this? You know, but we don't even realize it as women. You know what I mean? So the idea of trying to dominate, the idea of never being wrong. We're never wrong, y'all. Y'all know that, right? Women are never wrong. But never. We are never wrong. We're always right. But feeling the need to always be right. We have to, it's control, Alqamar, oftentimes, you know? So our role, the significance of our role, we have a big role in this thing. We have a big role. Whether you're in the workforce or you're at home with the kids, you have your own business as a woman, it's your role and your power is not even connected to those things. It's not even connected to what you are doing, what you're making, none of that. It's connected to your essence. It is absolutely necessary for the feminine to show up. So that balance, if we have a world where it's just leaning towards the masculine, and we've had that when you see patriarchy and so forth, and now some of our men have taken that on. It's an imbalance. It causes chaos. And then, one more thing. And then also too, we're trying to create a world now where we're trying to just have all feminine So you see the feminine movement, and they're pushing this agenda. That's an imbalance too. I don't want your role as a man. I don't want to become you. I don't want to compete with you. I want to be a woman. I want to be the best woman I could be.
Thinking of, I'm here listening to you talking, I'm thinking of when you say we become hardened, and then as women, when the brother comes along, and we don't know how to turn that off. No. And I'm wondering where that stems from. And I'm wondering, I don't know, but I'm wondering if it's because we have to be the disciplinarian in the relationship to our children, as well as the nurturer. When the man is normally the one who's the disciplinarian in the family. So now the woman is taking on that role that the man naturally does. Yes. So now you be quiet, sit down, don't do this, don't do that. So you know what I'm saying? You don't have the man there to discipline the child. You have to do that. And so now here's the man come along, and you're hardened.
There's nowhere for him to fit. Because a man has to see where he fits in your life. And some of us ain't even trying to move the cushion off the couch for him to have a seat. Yeah. You figure it out. Yeah. Take the floor if you have to. Yeah. We're not trying to do too much. Yeah. And that's the hardened factor that I'm talking about, where a man comes and he's looking, where in the world do I fit? Yeah. Because really, we've occupied the spaces that men, and again, some of us have been forced to, because our kids got to eat. They got to be disciplined. Somebody has to provide. So I'm not saying it's their fault. Right. Some people, they were forced to do that. And so now, like you said, they meet a good brother and they can't turn that off. And so that good brother is trying to figure out, where do I fit in this woman's space? And he can't find any place, because she's taken on the functions of a man by force.
Yes. Excellent point. And I'm wondering, the culture. How, when we going right on back to that's not our natural culture. If it was more of a balance in the African-centered culturedness, and we've lost that, then I think that one of the things that'll help is to get that culture back. I think we really underestimate the importance of the Sankofa moment. For those who don't know, going back and fetching our history, what we have been stripped of. It's still there, it's not that, it's not there. I mean, it's not there, it's there. We just have to go back and get it and bring it forth. And because then I think we'll become so much more healthy and whole when we grasp that culture that we lost, that's important to us, that's more helpful to us, because what we're getting now, what we're being fed now, is another people's culture, and it's killing us. It's killing us.
There's a lot of undoing that has to take place as women, a lot of undoing, because when we're talking about dismantling and dealing with these things, we're talking about socialization. We're talking about the way that we were socialized as women, and men. And so then the way we're socialized, and it's in complete conflict with African-centered roles. You know what I mean? Right. So the way that we're socialized as women in this society, we automatically think that when we talk about, I don't like to say the place of a woman, I like to say role, because we get offended about it. And this is why you have black women joining into a fight that really isn't theirs. When the whole feminine movement, they were hoodwinked into that and thinking this was their fight, and it wasn't. It wasn't, because at the end of the day, this white woman that you fighting side by side with still have some privileges that you are not privy to, sister. And a lot of our women found that out the hard way. That's not your fight, because really, we've been programmed now to believe that men are our enemy, black men. And the same propaganda that is on television, we get in an uproar about, we don't want black men or black women to be seen in that light, because the world already sees us a certain way. Listen to me. This isn't just about how the world sees us. This is about our children who are watching these things on television, and our men, you're looking like, that's not my reality. I don't know any man like that. I don't know any man like that, where the black woman is constantly set against the black man in these movies and these TV shows, And so we take that. So when we come into contact with good men, we already on the defense. You know, and you ever met a sister, you'd be like, calm down. I'm not here to attack you. You know, and a lot of our women also, again, propaganda and some experiences don't feel safe around black men. Because a lot of black women don't feel protected by black men. Because there have been many balls that have been dropped on the part of black men as well. So we can't even minimize that. It's a real thing. So on top of the propaganda that we're consuming, we also have bad experiences. And again, that also go back to the molestation piece as well. We have black women who the men in their life just never protected them. Okay? They were violated by uncle, dad didn't do anything. Mom didn't do anything. So now they grow up and they're adults and they're not looking to a black man to protect them. Absolutely not. And then some of them are not just playing for the other team, they're just going to a whole different race altogether. Because they bought into the idea of black man ain't nothing and any other race will do. And that's a lie. You know, black men are geniuses, they're brilliant, they're protectors, they're excellent providers, they're excellent fathers. And sometimes it's just what you've exposed yourself to. Some of us have grown up in environments where we didn't see enough of it. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. That doesn't mean it's not out there. I know some really good black men that are out here and living upright. And it's past due that sisters stand up and talk about those men. Stop joining these conversations that put down our men. Because there's already someone out there doing that. So what you're doing is aligning yourself with the enemy's agenda when you do that. You had 2 bad experiences with black men, or the entire globe of black men ain't nothing. That is 2 experiences in how many? And so we have to check each other on that too as black women. Which black men are you talking about when you say that? Because that's not my experience. And that's not my reality. And that's not my uncle. And that's not my... So who are you talking about? And then when you do that, you bring them to specify. So you find out the real issue you're having is with your Uncle Kareem. This ain't about the other black men in America or globally. This is about your Uncle Kareem. So let's deal with that.
I think we need the black woman to speak up with it. You're in a room of people and you hear a black woman going on a black man.
Yes.
And then you might feel, why didn't one black woman feel the black man coming out with it? If the sister would speak first, sometimes they would be received better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and yes, absolutely. And we have to wrap this up, fam. We've been up here a lot longer than we anticipated. But I think overall, we have to, as women, get back to understanding and recognizing our own power. I really think that we don't. We really, we don't understand it because, even the things that we gripe and complain about when it comes to our men, if we really understood and recognized our own power, we know that we have the power to turn that around. Absolutely. We really do. But anyway, so again, this Hanifah and I, we do this each and every Wednesday from 2 to 3 p.m. We air a different topic of discussion. We're going to have, we have a lot of guests to come on the show as well that are very knowledgeable. Tico Wells will be on our program this Wednesday. You may recognize or know this brother from, help me out, family. Five Heartbeats. Choir boy, and he was on Bill Cosby show. He starred on Bill Cosby show a couple times too. So Tico Wells will be our guest. We're going to be talking about spirituality. So we're going to be getting on that. So again, our goal is to heal. Heal ourselves and help and heal our community. And so that's our #1 goal on the program. Hanifah, you want to say something?
No, in closing, like Alqamar says, let's just start. If you haven't started, men and women, let's just start the journey towards healing. Let's support each other. Let's love on each other. Let's forgive each other. And let's have patience with each other because we need each other.
All right. Well, that wraps it up. Thank you so much for listening to us, family. Appreciate you guys.
That's a great show y'all got. I really hope you don't